Hair too. (1967), because Michael's in the 67, 68, maybe 1968, Michael and his girlfriend Cindy, Johnny in the sailor hat, Joyce, my dad Jim, and my mom Marguerite. Look at Mama's hair. Huh. Yeah. It's out in front of the place on Schultes Road. Oh, wedding picture. June 13th, 1964. Messiah Lutheran Church in Marysville. Dave and Babe. A lot younger than I am now. They would know the year, but I couldn't guess, I guess. One of the last pictures I have, my dad, not that last, but Joyce and I were just going back to Virginia. We went down by the waterfront in Everett, and Dad was placing riprap. And he got out, and we were saying, we said goodbye on the night before. I think we're driving down to the airport. I'm not sure. One of the last pictures I have of him. I think he went to work there. He was having a heart problem then. This is in Alamogordo, New Mexico, that toga party. 1971. Joyce made the costumes. 1036 Lamar, Alamogordo, New Mexico, Holloman Air Force Base. Corpus Christi, 1968 at pilot training with Bob Lytle's little dog. Pilot training, the river filling up, that's that river we could wade across, and the Armstead Dam that separated Mexico from the United States, our dog Major. Sharon Roswell and Joyce in Ciudad, I gotta think here. I think it's in Juarez, across from El Paso, because this would be at Sharon Roswell, so it has to be 1973. Alamogordo, New Mexico, White Sands. Joyce on the White Sands at Alamogordo. It was made of gypsum, just beautiful. Huge sand dunes. Oh. Alamogordo, New Mexico, obviously 1972. Getting ready to go to Crested Cap. I promise I'll be home, honey. And Joyce pregnant with Jimmy. We're going to Easter with the Klingners, Jane and Michael. In Easter 1969, we're flying out of Clovis, New Mexico, up into Nebraska to spend Easter at his parents' house. Mike was dead a year later in Vietnam. Ooh, the baby in 1972. This is before I came home, I think. And might be one of his first baths. And guess he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy at all. That's in 1836 Lamar, Alamogordo, New Mexico. Oh, there's some years later, you can see we're at a hotel. Oh, see Dad in the background taking a picture of this picture. And he's getting a bath in the sink. That's because you probably pooped your pants and you were stinky. Nice picture. It's in England. We're out on the heath by Newmarket, and he's flying his kite. Good picture. Clock Tower in London Parliament. Big Ben. It is not. Big Ben is the bell inside that clock tower. Later on, we were to go up in it twice, up in the innards with Lady Blatch. That's Lawshaw, England, 1973, winter of 73. Little Miss Muffin Boy all bundled up. That's at Lawshaw again, Christmas. He got a little horse. Boy, he would ride and ride and ride that thing. 1975, obviously, because that's one of the few pictures we have of Jennifer. Joyce did not want her picture taken very much when she was pregnant, so here she is taking a picture of me, but I caught her, and me taking a picture of her. At the Eiffel Tower, Paris, April in Paris, 1975. Jimmy on the beach, Wales, 1974 or 5. That's Henley, I bet. This is a picture when we came home, and we went up to Lake Peregrine with my mom and dad. And this is Jimmy and Jennifer. Jimmy went fishing with Grandpa and caught those fish. Later on this dock, that's where you clean the fish. Early in the morning, I threw my dad off the dock, but he grabbed on me. We both went in the lake screaming and yelling, and everybody came out of their cabins to see what was going on. There's Jennifer, 1976 in Leavenworth, Kansas. Again, Leavenworth, Kansas. Elmer visited us, drove. Jimmy and Jennifer, 1975-76. 76 at Leavenworth, Kansas. We would come home and go salmon fishing at Westport, wearing that same coat I have now of my dad's. This is in the backyard, Marysville, at the Schultes Road. Grandma and Grandpa's old house. Wish we had that house. Ah, boy. I think this is when we went up to New York and visited Ray and Kathy. (1978) when we went to, we were in Langley Air Force for Virginia. He really looks happy, doesn't he? Look at, boy, your mother dressed you immaculately. Both you kids, immaculately. This is early at, it's Mount Vernon in Washington, D.C., I believe. Oh, we're back at that Peregrine Lake with the fish. Told you they're a little mixed up, but they're in the retirement thing, and I kind of got them together. Snowman, Langley Air Force Base, 1978. Out in front of the base. Later on, kids come and knock the snowman down. Oh, we're all the way back to 1967. Graduating as an officer from OTS in my dress white uniform. 1969, Del Rio, Texas, out at the bridge that's now under 80 feet of water because of the lake. Jimmy and Jennifer. I give up. I do give up. We were traveling. Where were we? This is 1970. R&R in Hawaii. Your mom in Hawaii again. Right out in front of our hotel. I can't remember the little boat squeak with the kids in it. Jimmy rowing, his little tongue in his mouth, rowing hard, and that is England. On one of the little areas. This is 1969, San Antonio, I believe, visiting. 1973, getting ready to leave Alamogordo, New Mexico. I had a Honda 250 with Jimmy on it and a 1969 Pontiac Firebird. Alamogordo, New Mexico. Jennifer, our climber, who was taken to the emergency room twice for pulling stuff like that over on top of her and falling and umpty-ump. Finally counseled mom on child abuse. True story. This is Joyce in the San Felipe Springs, Del Rio, Texas. And as I took her down there, I said, stand by the springs. One of the largest springs. I mean, right, this creek, if you want to call it a creek or a small river, erupts right out of the ground behind her. And I said, go down by there and I'll take your picture. Well, a week before, she'd been bitten by a big snake, 3 or 4 foot long snake. And all she did was look for snakes down there, but I got her down there to take her picture. This is in Germany, on our trip to Germany, when we showed Jimmy what dandelions do. 1974, 2 years old. Gosh, I don't know where we are. It's beautiful. Obviously, you kids by the lake. I'm trying to figure what lake and where we are. I don't recognize those hills. Jennifer looks like about 3 or 4, so it's got to be back, maybe on the way to New York. And that trip to New York, we saw Ray and Kathy. 1978. This is in Italy. We took it. We were living in England. Johnny is 16 there. He came over and we toured like 7 countries in 10 days. This is him in Italy at a little fair. And Jimmy, they're riding a little car. I can't believe Johnny's 16 there. Tom, Lowndes, and Jimmy at Henley Beach in 1975 or 6. Joyce skiing. Oh, your mother was a good skier. Riadoso, 1973. Jennifer at a little piano recital. Pretty good. Oh, I don't know where we are. But look at that. Jimmy's got a suit too big for him. Obviously, Jennifer's about 6, so it's got to be 1981. It's got to be England someplace. Six or 7. Joyce would know. Ed, Daniel, Elmer, and we're in England, and we're at Lake and Heath in 1970. Gosh, that's Jennifer. That's Jennifer in 1975 Christmas dinner. Jennifer in 1970. Wow, we do have a little slide of you and your mom. Ed, Daniel, and then Grandpa Elmer Gabrielson on the left. Oh, we're all the way back to major duck hunting right out here in front of Everett. Jennifer petting the cows. Now, I don't know where we're at. 5 or 6. Got to be England, I guess, someplace. Maybe one of the friends' farm. It's that same picture, only now Joyce is in the area. I gotta figure where we're at. Looks like base housing in the back. So it's gotta be Bentwater someplace. Woodbridge, Brentwood. We lived on Woodbridge, didn't we? You know, this is when Sterling and Marion and Sterling Gallagher visit us in the wintertime. And that's some of the kids as we were down in London Way. That's Joyce and baby Jimmy, obviously in 1972. I don't know whose house that is, because it's not our house. Maybe the Roswells. Traveling someplace, a beautiful scenic view. We did travel. Oh, this is back where we went with Mom and Dad, Grandpas and Grandmas, up to Paragon Lake in 1979, and we all went horseback riding. Jimmy rode with Grandpa, and that's Jennifer with Mom. Dad kept nudging his horse up, would bite Grandma's horse in the rear end. Grandma's horse would lean her head back and bare her teeth and try to bite Grandma, and Grandma would scream, "Big Jim, quit that!" Well, we're back to Thetford Park, 1975 in the spring. Joyce pregnant with Jennifer. Oh, little baby Jimmy at a petting zoo. We're back in the winter time of when Sterling and Marion visited us in about 1970. We were in Woodbridge, so it's got to be 1981. And that is Cambridge. We're in Cambridge at that little church in Cambridge, England. Joyce and Santa Claus, Clearwater, Florida, 1970. In the Christmas of 1970. That's his real beard. Really a nifty Santa Claus. This is deer hunting scene in the fall. I was up at Uncle Jack's in Virginia, up by the Blue Ridge Mountains. Just gorgeous scenery. Gorgeous country. Oh, I'm going back now. This is Takli, Thailand. Myself on a ladder of an F4 with my weapons system operator, Fred Cook. And we're all the way back around where we came home from Thailand. And that's the first time I held my son, Jimmy, in the fall of 1972. When we were in Del Rio, Texas, Michael came down to visit us. I think he was 18, because Del Rio, Texas is 1968. So you got to help me, Michael. See, you were born in 48. Are you 20 there? I don't know. England, in Tuddenham, in our backyard, Jimmy's birthday party, 1975. I know that's Carol Daniel, and Carol is holding Stacy. I can't see the rest of the kids. Jimmy is dead center, right in the middle, the closest one. Johnny sent him that T-shirt, I think it says, "I'm my uncle's monkey." Jimmy and Jennifer, Marbella, Spain, 1982, Christmas. Maybe 1983 Christmas. I can't remember. There's Jimmy and Jennifer, I think, back on I gotta figure where we are. Woodbridge Air Force Base, because it's Air Force Base fence anyway. This is 1975. Jimmy out in the water all dry with all his clothes on, and it's out at Hindley, out on the beach in England. That's our BMW 2002 in the Ford Anglia. I think the picture's reversed because we are at our house in Lawshaw. Alamogordo Air Force Base, we went horseback riding up at Cloudcroft, 1971. Ooh, this is the dress Joyce made. She had all these pearls sewed up on it, and we were obviously going out to a formal thing, but boy, she made some beautiful clothes. Boy, what a pretty lady. That's Jimmy when we went over to Germany on that trip, running down that hill. Obviously he's about 1975, 1974. When we came back from England in 1976, we went to Leavenworth, Kansas. We ordered and got a brand new 1976 Pontiac Firebird. And we drove it for about 6 months, and finally we had a Firebird, we loved it, but all of a sudden we had 2 kids. And you know, in that little 2-door Firebird sports car, gosh, not an awful lot of things fit. And we stopped to take this picture out in front of the Midwest on those piles of corn and wheat, just stacked up because there was no room in the storage bins. The Horse Guard in England. The Arc de Triomphe in Paris, April 1975. We're back to Alamogordo and Joyce and her friend, the burro. Nice boots, Joyce. I gotta figure where. That's Jennifer in the middle. And that is the Thomas girls, Amy and Billy Thomas. So we're in Virginia, about 1978. This Joyce and I skiing. I don't know who took this picture. One of our friends on the ground did. They're going up the ski lift in Ruidoso about 1971. One of the big cathedrals in England. Jimmy and Jennifer in 1976, Leavenworth, Kansas. Up in the horse barracks, the old Army horse barracks. Oh, this is in California. We stopped by the road. I think this is where we lived in Vegas. And you guys came home. Is Jennifer that old? No, Jennifer's not that old. We're in California going from someplace to going home, I know, because we stopped up by Mount Shasta to take this picture. Oh, we're back by Elmer and Grandpa Evans, Grandpa Gabrielson, Jimmy and Jennifer, and Lake Peregrine. And you know, it wasn't many more months later my dad was dead. Thank goodness we took this vacation. Thank goodness. This is up in Maine, in Bar Harbor, Maine, and we took a trip in about 1978-79, summer trip up to the White Mountains. That's Jimmy at the Roswells, Thanksgiving, 1972. Max, Roswell's dog in the background. Jimmy with a turkey leg. He's not happy with Mom. Ooh, this is Lake Peregrine again. Jimmy, my dad holding Jennifer, Elmer, Grandpa Elmer Gabrielson behind, my mom on the right. Dad holding Jennifer. That's college in our village in Lawshaw, England. Great detail. This is Michael sick on the charter boat. We went out and the seas were really rough. Looks like Michael. It's not John, because John didn't have that kind of hair. Everybody got sick. Joyce in a Paris sidewalk scene, April 1975, pregnant with Jennifer. Sidewalk artist kind of show. Myself and Jimmy, 1981, a horse guard, London, England. Not sure what city or where we're at. Sunset. And that's it for that slides. I'll make sure. I went to pilot training in 1968. And I graduated. I went to pilot training in 1968, and I graduated in October of 1968. So part of '67 in October 1968 in Del Rio, Texas. And this is a picture of the first plane they put you in is a Cessna 172. And I'm checking the oil, getting ready to fly. So we're going to skip around a bit, I know. I did a little helicopter training, which proved useful in later years as I was picked up out of the North Sea. My first real helmet, Del Rio, Texas, 1968, our backyard. Most of these are going to be bombing pictures again, and you know, more of my military life, the next 100 slides. The last 100 slides, again, every one of those white dots is a 20 to 50 foot wide crater. This is in the Iron Triangle, about 40 miles north of Saigon. Back to pilot training in the T-37. I'm a little bit afraid. Our squadron patch was wings or bust, with a picture of a cartoon character of a busty woman. You couldn't wear that nowadays. John came when he was 16 years old to visit England in 1975, and by the Horse Guard soldier in London. And we toured a little bit of England, one of the German castles. Oh, we're back to Winthrop. Grandpa Gabrielson, Joyce, myself, Jimmy, and my mom in Winthrop in Washington. I don't know where Grandpa and the baby are. Oh, Jimmy's graduation picture from Aviano, England, with his sister. Look at that hair. And they graduated, had their ceremony in an 11th century church up in the mountains near Aviano, and the American ambassador to Italy was their guest speaker. I think there was 29 seniors in Jimmy's graduating class. Later, he jumped off the bridge into that river you see behind us. We tried. Nice hair. Pilot picture in 1975. I'm sorry. That's back in pilot training. Our T-37's the second plane I flew for training and pilot training, Del Rio, Texas, 1968. Oh, an upside down picture of me flat on the ground falling off the ladder. Oh, this thing fell, sorry. Strapped in, the F-100 flying straight up. Actually, the film's in sideways. F-100 on the runway, 4 cans of napalm. Van Rang, 1969. Jungle Survival. Hope a lot of these aren't backwards like that. Philippines in 1969. 1969, Fan Rang, by my aircraft, number 942, and the name of the aircraft painted on the other side was Joyce and the Animal. There's 2 F-100s over dry season in Vietnam, flying formation. Jungle Survival in the Philippines, walking up a creek in the jungle, pretty thick jungle. 500-pound bomb going off on a hillside. People in the squadron, Warren Leach, who we stood up for, Fred Phillips, me, and Jim Flynn. Right in the back is Bob Williams, who went to pilot training also. My last flight in the F-100 getting hosed down. And then I went to F-4s, flew the F-4 for 9 years. This is Holloman Air Force Base, New Mexico. Oh, too bad. Too many upside down. Might have to go back through them. I think I will. We'll put a pause on this and check this out. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. If I can get it focused in here. She's loaded up with bombs, so this Thailand in 1972. Thailand 1972, 12 500-pounders. That's a jamming pod, the big white thing under the engine there on the right, the far right kind of upper corner. Electronic jamming pod to jam enemy radar. Air refueling off a tanker. KC-135. Usually took about 1,000 gallons of fuel. It's just before we came home. The black sheep emblem, my tie clothes, tie shoes, tie pants, tie shirt, probably cost $7 total. Flew the F-16 for many years. Picture of the F-16 airborne. Flew the F-16 as a squadron commander in Torrejon, Spain in 1974. Again at headquarters in 1978-79. Beautiful airplane. Ultra modern. Supersonic, easy supersonic airplane. I was the commander of the 613th Tactical Fighter Squadron Squids. A big squid wrapped around a bomb was our squadron symbol. And this is me giving an award to somebody. Torrejon, Spain, 82 to 1984. We went out in Nellis, the 57th Fighter Wing patch. I'm at the ops decks with Joe Young, my ops officer. And it's an exercise. You see we're armed with guns. So we're practicing for war. One of our F-16s there. There's a better picture. Picture's in backwards, but you get the idea. Torrejon was just about 10 miles from Madrid. Some of the mountains in the wintertime in Madrid. So it did snow there. Of course, we went skiing. It's going to be a little bit mixed up, but this is a MiG-21J model. Dad flew these when I was at Nellis in the aggressor squadron. They were secret and they were up in the desert. And all the aggressor pilots were experts in Soviet air-to-air doctrine, and they flew Soviet tactics against our American pilots. And it's like a football team. Once you could see their tactics, you kind of knew their game plan. Another picture of MiG-21 in desert camouflage. And we flew the F-5 Aggressor. It's F-5 here in the blue and the F-4 on the other side. A little sports car. Here's a picture of it. Little sports car. It's like a Corvette. Maybe some Ferraris out there. It's got two heat missiles, air-to-air heat-seeking missiles on the wingtips and two 20-millimeter cannon. Another picture with the missiles on the wingtips, looking straight down at it. Little rocket. You can see how some of the planes, this is by Lake Mead, Las Vegas, and if you count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 7 planes in that picture, and they're different Soviet camouflage schemes. It's a little F-5 Freedom Fighter was its nickname. Here's an F-5 painted in Soviet colors next to an F-15, the big F-15 there. Then I flew the A-10s for years, 1980 to 82 at Bantwaters, England, and then Alconbury. I was the wing commander 1990 to 1992. Carried all kinds of bombs, rockets, and a 30-millimeter Gatling gun. Here it's shown carrying a Maverick air-to-air missile, air-to-ground missile, and 2 air-to-air heat-seeking missiles on the lower wing. These are actually A-10s from England Air Force Base, painted. They're the only ones allowed to paint their planes this color, in a picture of that big Gatling gun barrel sticking out the front. It fired 4,000 rounds a minute. The shell was about a foot long, the whole shell. F-16. Picture of me in jungle survival school. They showed us how to get water out of everything. Cut down a little tree and drain the water out of it. Upside down F-100. Loaded up F-4, Fred Cook on the back, so I'm taking a picture at Holloman Air Force Base. Or we're in Thailand, really. John Mueller, myself, John Phillips, and Charlie Coster at Da Nang Air Force Base, Vietnam, doing a turn. And like I say, Charlie later was killed. Part of Jungle Survival School in the Philippines. Spent 3 weeks there. My crew chief talking to me before a flight in an F-16. And again, a Torrejon F-16. That's kind of the terrain right by the base in Torrejon. Big mountains, but we were by Madrid, a lot of agriculture land. But we're back to Holloman in 1972. Back to Spain in 1982. A 2-seat model. Back to Vietnam and bomb craters, 1969. There's that picture of city. I don't know what it is. You'd think it was Seattle, but Seattle's like quite on a hill. It doesn't look like that. That might be Marbay. I don't know. This is an F-16 out. I don't know where it is. It's in Spain. And there's that same city that I don't know what it is. F-16 out of Torrejon. This is back in Vietnam because I'm a second lieutenant with my sidearm, the old flight suits. That's kind of when I first got there because I'm heavy there. 4 F-16s out of Torrejon, Spain. And here's the squids. Too bad this is backwards. Commander James C. Evans, Jim Evans. 4 more F-16s from the squids. Helicopter. MiG-21. F-16 Torrejon 942, that's my airplane. And that's the F-5 painted in Soviet colors out of Nellis Air Force Base, 1978. It's a MiG-21 Dad flew. There's the F-5s lined up at Torrejon, the different Soviet paint schemes. I don't know where I am, but somebody's bike, not mine, wish it was. I think we're on deployment. That's not me. Not sure who that is. Joe Young, my ops officer in Torrejon, Spain. And F-100s in Vietnam, 1969. Water survival, 1968 in November, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. This is suited up in chemical gear to go to the airplane for chemical warfare. Tell me if you're going to survive in all that gear. This is a lieutenant, 1968 in a T-38. Vietnam, one of the guys getting hosed down. I know that's Barry Barano hosing him down. His last flight. F-4 is being refueled by a tanker. This is me and my airplane in Vietnam, 1969. Joyce and the Animal. That's what it says. Slides in backwards, too bad. And that's me in 1970 in Vietnam in my party suit. Obviously somebody's going away party. I still have the dickie. In fact, I have the party suit. One of these days, maybe I'll get into it. I doubt it. The A-10 that I flew, this picture's out of Nellis Air Force Base. And by a 23mm captured Soviet gun in, this is Da Nang, 1972. Jungle Survival, 1969. We're back to 69. It's Rick Ames, myself, and I forgot the major's name. Teaching academics, the Aggressor Squadron. There's an F-5 Aggressor painted in Soviet ground colors over Nellis. In fact, that's Lake Mead down below there. MiG-21 sideways. F-100s, Super Sabres. And T-38, the last plane in pilot training, 1969. Almost near the end. We're going to do an upside down F-100. Is that the last slide? Nope. This is navigating with a map. Actually, I'm on the ground. Map all folded up. And that is the last of the pictures of the slides from the military flying aspect.